The Adventure Force Spectrum is honestly one of, if not the best stock flywheel blaster I've ever seen. Boasting FPSs of 100 FPS with 6 AA's, and who knows what kind of 9-volt motors they have in here. That's pretty amazing compared to anything that Nerf has ever brought up, with just like 4 AA's in their Strife. However, I wanted to push it a bit further because I can't really own lipos or IMRs simply because of house rules. There's other people with financial reasons, and as well as just lacking the time and dedication to devote to monitoring the charging and the power drain that happens with lipos and such. You know, just the safety stuff. So I decided to toy with this guy, cracked it open, checked the wires and everything to see what I could do to bring it up to speed with something like Endwar 130 FPS caps or something. What I found out is that with something as simple as a rewire from the 21 gauge wire, I believe, of the toy grade up to a 18 gauge wire, as well as replacing the inner flywheels with worker smooths, well, let's fire up this chronograph and I'll show you guys what I got because it's amazing. Headphone warning, it is loud. That's 114. That's not even the highest it could go. I didn't let it rev up fast enough. But the fact that it's hitting above 110, and when you see the actual chrono readings, you will be amazed to see just how far a simple rewire and wheel swap could go without having to change the power source, still running on AA's. As familiarized with the Spectrum, this red variant is an in-store exclusive at Walmart for only $20. There is a green version online for $25 plus shipping, I think. So between getting it online for $25 plus and getting it in-store, I decided to take my chance driving around to every Walmart I could find and asking them, hey, do you have this in the back room? Eventually, I did find a store that had 4 of these in box. I actually picked up 2 of them, one for me and one for a sibling of mine, so we could both enjoy the glory that is Adventure Force. And so yeah, that's how I got a hold of this guy. Yeah, overall though, it's pretty chunky in the front. You know, people are having complaints about the barrel being this large and whatnot. I'd probably cut it down a bit, probably around here, just cut it down that way, make it a stub, but at the moment, I like how it is. Grip's really nice. There is a foregrip that came with it. I usually don't run mine with it because I'm fine holding it like this. Scope's also nice. It's just a little aesthetic thing. Stock is great. It's adjustable. You can remove it, replace it with the Villainator stock, which is what I want to do because this one's too short for me. I'm just a big guy. And a 10-round magazine. Well, 10. It actually holds 12 darts, but they branded it as 10. And the mag release as well, it's pretty nice. I'm the guy that grips the mag and the release and pulls it out whenever it comes to reload. So having this claw here really helped with that. The rev trigger is pretty wide, or I guess long, to the point that you could use both fingers to rev it up instead of just one. Some people don't like it. I do. I prefer it that way so that I could just quickly get a jump on them with a faster rev instead of having to work my middle finger up to the tiny buttons that the Nerf Elite style rev triggers are. Well, though, it's a nice blaster, $20, 100 FPS stock, but I didn't make this video to talk about it stock. I made this video to show you guys how it is inside and what I did inside to bring it up to, well, when the chrono readings come, you'll see. You already saw 114. That's not as high as it could go. That's probably about as low as it can go. So without further ado, let's put this down on the table, crack it open, and I'll show you guys the inside. Alrighty then, so here we are inside of the Spectrum. The good news about this guy is that I left the shell screws inside, but these are the cage screws and the battery tray screws. Yes, the battery tray is removable, so you could do your wiring, your modding, and then when it comes time to, you know, painting your blaster, or if you wanted to do the shell afterwards, you could just literally just pull this all out and it will all stay connected. You don't have to like snap these off the battery tray and then resolder later or something. So yeah, and on top of that, all the screws are the same size, as I said. These are both the cage and the battery screws. They're the same size as the shell cage screws, so you could literally put them all into one container and not worry about which ones go where when it's time to reassemble. Alright, looking into the wiring, as I said, I replaced my cage wheels with worker smooths because the top one of the stock one was defective. It bulged outwards and just sent my darts whirling birding to the right. So yeah, I got them aligned in here. They have a nice light crush, but because of the high spin speeds that the 9 volts offer, that lack of a tough crush is definitely compensated by just the absolute speed these little darts fly out from. The wiring was actually simple though. When you open up your Spectrum the first time, I'll put up an image of the stock wiring. Almost everything is just right there already outlined for you. I only marked here the positive and negative terminals in order to wire the positive and negative leads correctly. But even in the stock version, the only difference was that the red wiring here was yellow. But outside of that, you could just monkey see, monkey do, follow the wires and get it done that way. As for the battery tray, it is a bit more complicated because remember, it is 6 batteries, it's not 4, so it's not like one positive and one negative lead doing the job. It's multiple here. Alright. I'm gonna try and remember because I was gonna do positives and negative, you know, red and black wire for the tray, but I ran out of red wiring because that went towards the flywheels and also down towards the switch. I'm still using the stock switch, but I'll no doubt be changing it out for a lever clone switch when the time comes. I just want to paint mines first and then make the switch so that it could handle the boost of current that's coming out and through these 18 gauge wires. As for the battery tray, even it's all lined out with like positive and negative symbols here and there. I know that this very long one is still negative. Same thing with this shorter, there we go, this shorter wire over here that starts here and loops around down to the other side over here. That's also a negative connection, so had I had more red wire, this one will be the positive connection, starting from back over here, looping around all the way down here towards this little terminal over here. So this would be the one positive wire that you'd wire in, but these other two, this long boy and this short one, will be negative. And from there, of course, up here from this positive current, you go on down to the switch, and from there the switch, you solder on the next positive connection to go over to the wheel, to the positive side terminals of the motors. As for this negative wire, it just loops all the way around and connects directly onto here. So from the two connections of the motors all the way over here, I'll draw a diagram that cleans up this mess that I have in here, because like the one pain that I have is just putting the wires in because they're dummy thick. Thankfully there's a lot of real estate behind here, but I didn't want to pry out the wires entirely because I don't want to deal with putting them in back in. But apart from that, that's a look inside of the internals. I did snip off the little bulge here, the plastic bulge on the ref trigger that locked the trigger in place, because I like to fidget with stuff. I like to just pull the trigger because reasons. Yeah, outside of that, there's the claw mag release. Here's the long pusher rod. It's not long enough to push half darts in, but it can. If you just like, I don't know, super glue another piece of plastic down here, it'd definitely be able to do the job for short darts. There used to be a lock here, the jam door lock. However, when resoldering this guy and rewiring it for 18 gauge, I left it out. I don't need locks. I just want a clean connection from the batteries to the switch to the flywheels. Alright, enough rambling of the technical stuff. If you need a picture format, I am working on making a drawn diagram for this if you want to do this at home. And well, yeah, that should be all from my end. I'll just give you guys the range testing footage as well as the chronograph readings and send you off that way. From over here where I'm standing, this little sidewalk behind it, all the way out to where the curve begins right there to the left, that's 100 feet. I took the painstaking measurements with 25-foot rolls and got to that point. So we'll be doing some flat, 5 angled. Hopefully the wind does not interfere again. Rapid. Alright. So we got our first view over here in this little grassy area, just under this speed bump. 2 more that hit here. These were from the flat shots, so you had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we get onto the arch shots, with the lowest one being up here. Right here was actually the maximum range of my stock spectrum, somewhere around like 80 feet. So between these 2 darts was like the maximum range out of a non-rewired regular flywheel spectrum. Then with the angled shots, first one down here, and the other ones over here did manage to reach the curve, so 95 to 100 feet. Pretty impressive.